Hello, and welcome to our fourth virtual launch event. We're so happy to share the launch of SAN 24 with our international contributors, readers, and fans after releasing the issue in person in Berlin in late June. We're thrilled to be celebrating the launch of our latest release, SAN 24, Undone. The issue's cover art by Charmaine Dehage encapsulates much of this issue's mood. Restlessness combines with play, inertia, and passivity. The hyper-real rubs up against absurdity. In many ways, this issue is a natural continuation of our last. If SAN 23 was about coping with prolonged pandemic living and the climate crisis, SAN 24 is about giving in to this new reality, which now involves war, and admitting that something fundamental has come undone. This can involve states of crisis, but it can also involve states of euphoria, dreams, encounters with nature, and even alternate realities. Unravelling invites a return to and revision of the past as borders between time, space, reality, and fantasy become slippery and permeable. And this issue is full of work that straddles, transcends, and rewrites those types of boundaries and borders. We're excited for you to get to read the diverse and often wonderfully experimental pieces included in SAN 24. If you haven't already picked up a copy, we're offering a special discount tonight, which we'll tell you about later, because we first want to get to the main event. Tonight, we'll be hearing micro-readings from the work of 7 contributors whose work you can see in SAN. I'll be joined by SAN team members Grace Hennis, our events co-coordinator, who will be introducing each of our readers. Managing editor Ruby Mason will be running the technical side of tonight's event, and you'll also see her in the comments. We'll begin the readings tonight with creative nonfiction from Alison Fishburne and poetry from Shilpa Comet. And now, I'll turn it over to Grace with her introduction of Alison.
First up, we have Alison Fishburne. Alison is an American writer living in Paris, Ontario. Originally from Florida, she has written and produced 3 full-length plays in New York City, studied acting and playwriting at the Barrow Group, and performed improv at the Magnet Theater and Upright Citizens Brigade. She has an art degree from Brooklyn College and an MFA in creative nonfiction from University of King's College in Halifax. Her writing has appeared in Long Reads, The Outline, and is forthcoming in Sand. She is currently working on a memoir about her younger sister's unexpected death in 2013.
Hi, I'm Alison Fishburne. Thank you, SAN Journal, for including me in issue 24. If you haven't already gotten a copy of the issue, visit sanjournal.com to do so. Now here's my essay from the issue. The essay is called Safety. I wear a powerful spring on a cotton cord around my neck. The spring is a thick steel coil coated dark blue, about 2 inches long. It used to be compressed to half its size inside a device called a brake cartridge, a safety mechanism the size of my hand plugged into a table saw that uses electrically charged saw blades. Should one of these electrically charged saw blades come into contact with a conductor of electricity, such as a finger in the wrong place at the wrong time, the electric signal to the blade changes, activating the brake cartridge within 5 milliseconds. Within those 5,000ths of a single second, while a finger and life attached to it hang in peril, the powerful spring is released, sending a molded aluminum stop into the spinning blade, reducing the blade's rotational speed from 4,000 times per minute to 0, saving the finger and life attached to it. I found the powerful spring in the bottom of an industrial-sized plastic trash bin in a wood shop where I sometimes work. What caught my eye first, though, was the discarded 10-inch blade embedded into the aluminum stop of the brake cartridge next to the spring. Among wood scraps and sawdust, the combined object was mesmeric. Machine versus machine, a snapshot artifact of averted danger. Safety. I pulled the blade from the bin for a closer look. I inspected the way the curved teeth of the blade bit all the way down into the aluminum stop. I imagined witnessing the moment of impact, and I wanted a souvenir for what I had imagined. I dropped the blade back into the bin, opting to keep the powerful spring because it fit inside my pocket. I have another souvenir, an airbag I never look at. The airbag is a sheet of white nylon that used to be compressed inside the steering wheel of a you-know-where-this-is-going. Should a car come into contact with an obstructive object and crash, an array of electric sensors in the car are triggered, activating the car's safety system. Within 0.05 of a second, the number of airbags deemed necessary for the type of crash detected are deployed. In the steering wheel, a canister of sodium azide, a white, odorless poison, is lit by an electric match, causing a chemical reaction. The sodium azide is converted into nitrogen gas and inflates the airbag, preventing the driver's head and chest from hitting the steering wheel. I found my souvenir airbag on a car in a tow lot, the collateral damage of a head-on crash with a charter bus. I was told the driver of the car had died instantly because not even the airbag could have saved her life. What caught my eye first at the car was my dad, because he was retrieving personal effects from behind the driver's seat. Then he wailed, falling backward, catching himself on the ground as though the ground had prevented him from falling any further. I was standing next to the car, looking through the space where there should have been a door, observing the driver's seat, the painted outline of my sister's figure in stains of char and blood. I took a step toward my dad but stopped because I saw what had sent him falling, and I looked away from the pool of liquid red on the floorboard behind my sister's outline. And the first thing I saw when I looked away was the steering wheel bent upward in a 90-degree angle and the deflated airbag laying on top. I went to the airbag. I inspected the piece of cloth that couldn't have saved my sister's life, and I imagined it was the last thing to touch her when she was still alive, and I decided I would keep the airbag as a souvenir because it was a final moment with my sister, an artifact of our missed goodbye. Sometimes I hold the cotton cord on either side of the powerful spring around my neck. I rotate the cord until the motion spins the spring. I pull the cord tight, watching the spring snap to a stop. I do this again and again because I like watching what I can control. Other times, without thought, I wrap the cotton cord around my hand like a rosary, or I'll pinch the spring with my fingers, a futile attempt to compress it to the original size it would have been inside the brake cartridge before it was activated within 0.005 of a second, which is 10 times faster than an airbag could save a life.
Next up, we have Shilpa Kamath. Shilpa is a poet, educator, and healing arts practitioner based in Northern California. She has an MFA in creative writing and has been published by a range of magazines, including Strange Horizons, Quelly, On Spec, Sparkle and Blink, Colossus Anthologies, Jaggery, and Fantasy Magazine, forthcoming. Her chapbook, Saraswati Takes Back the Alphabet, was a finalist for the Gloria Anzaldúa Poetry Prize and was published by Newfound. You can read more about her work at shilpakamath.com.
Hi, I'm Shilpa Kamath. I'm going to be reading my poem that is published in Sand 24. I wrote this poem in response to environmental crisis, particularly regarding plastics and their presence everywhere in the ocean and the air. I wrote it in a more experimental style with the words broken apart, which is not necessarily the way I will read it. But if you wind up acquiring the journal, you'll see how the words look on page. Because plastic may become part of our DNA, we decompose quickly. Sound of a salmon underwater, ossification of husk and teeth. Salt on feet. Disposable razor heads, washed out baby girl doll faces. Wrappers, coils, needles under everything. Because plastic gives that other kind of immortality, we close our eyes tightly, and when we must, we unscrew and drink. Thank you for hearing this poem. You can go to sandjournal.com to acquire the issue 24, which it's published in. And if you're interested in my more experimental work, probably my chapbook Saraswati Takes Back the Alphabet has some more of it, which is published by Newfound.
Thank you, Allison and Shilpa, for those readings. Tonight you're hearing excerpts from and full pieces from Sand 24. And if you'd like to see more of the work there, we promised you a special discount. Until September 5th, we're offering a very special discount of 20% off of all print and digital sales. The discount applies to individual issues and subscriptions. And to take advantage of these offers, you can just head over to sandjournal.com and use the discount code VIRTUAL20. You'll also find this discount code on the homepage of our website and in the web shop. We also have some more news for you. We're excited to share that you can now preview work from the issue and read full pieces from the Sand archives in Sand Online. This is a digital extension of the print journal that we just introduced this summer. In addition to excerpts and full pieces from Sand, you'll find recorded readings and feature articles on writing and art. The excerpts and full pieces at Sand Online are only available for a limited time, as they'll be updated every 1 to 2 months with new material from the Sand archives and with new excerpts from the current issue. Head over to sandjournal.com/sandonline to check out our first installment if you haven't already. Tonight we're excited to get to celebrate here virtually with all of you, and we also wanted to share with you some impressions of our June launch in Berlin. There we had readings and presentations from Sand designer Deborah Louis-Seri, who discussed how the cover art influenced the design of the issue, including its color scheme, fonts, and other design elements. We also saw presentations from artists Siley Gore and Chloe Fiorzian, which included Siley passing around 140 cut-up pieces of an artwork to the audience. We also listened to readings from 3 contributors that you'll hear from tonight as well: fiction writers Laura Lines and Ambika Thompson, and poet Olya Kotova. We'd like to give a big thank you to all of these contributors and take a moment to share some impressions from our in-person launch event in Berlin. We hope you enjoyed those impressions of our in-person launch. Thanks again to the contributors and attendees who made that event so special. As an all-volunteer nonprofit organization, our livelihood depends on the support of community members like those who purchased tickets to the launch and bought issues. We couldn't do what we do without you, and we are very grateful. So now, let's get back to tonight's readings. Next up, we have fiction from Laura Lines and Sophia Terazawa. Here's Grace.
Next, you'll hear from Laura Lines. Laura is a British-Hungarian writer currently undertaking MSc in creative writing at the University of Oxford. Her writing can be found in publications including Lighthouse Journal, Erotoplasty, and Litro magazine.
This is an excerpt from The Lake Experience. Part of my role at the hotel is to facilitate the sublime experience of feeling small and alone inside nature. This used to mean depositing our guests into the middle of the lake, where it was possible to be submerged and fetal inside a body of water that felt endless. Like this, our guests could coagulate new and productive perspectives. But now, because of the lake's terminally shallow depth, the long, shallow walk is all there is, and I have taken on something of the lake experience in the services that I provide. I reach the woman now and wait in respectful silence as she pulls her thin body up the ladder and arranges herself in a resting position on my deck. Her bob has wetted against her skull, giving her head the rosy appearance of an egg, and up close I can see that her shoulders are burned, verging on crisp. For a moment I'm overcome with the urge to shroud her, but I remember that doing this to our guests gets me into trouble. We are not supposed to alarm them. The woman is breathing heavily, and she says nothing for a while, but then she lifts an arm, extended by a finger, and points it at the mini refrigerator that's attached to the back of my seat. I am diligent at keeping the refrigerator fully stocked, which means making sure we always have available drink cans from a good range of competing brands. There must never be a time in which our guests aren't able to exercise their choice. "Drink, please," the woman says, her voice a low, luxurious drawl. I pick a can at random and put it into her extended hand. "Ocean Wonder, great choice," I smile. Sitting up, she cracks the can open, takes a few fizzing gulps, and then puts it down. I note that she has placed the can nearer to my body than to hers, so I know it is for me to dispose of. Last week, I had a man who seemed to have become afflicted by an agitation that was above average bad, such that he needed several cans of drink fed to him directly to the mouth. He was sliding about in my arms, gulping messily as I tried to satiate him, but then, as if in preemptive panic, he whacked me on the side of my head and said, "Don't stop." I had to coo softly but urgently to keep him from whacking me again, and eventually the man let out a long breath and cried. Suddenly, the blonde-skulled woman, who has resumed her resting position, surprises me by pulling her lips back and loudly ha-haing straight into the heat, as if it is not so serious. I surprise myself then by laughing too, coming out with my own authentic hee and feeling some relief from it. But something crosses over the woman's face at the sound. It's not for her, and she sits up and looks past me and says in her low drawl, "My husband." She must, I know, reinstate the positions. So I follow the direction of her gaze and register the small, bald head of a man crouching in the middle of the lake, which is where I am to deposit her. The guests don't enjoy the effects displayed by the sky, nor do they feel any climactic resolution from reaching the lake's very center point. By the time the sky has become a matte blank, I paddle them back to the shore in 2 batches. Gia relays the rest to me at night as we lie under a white bulb in this hotel's single windowless room. "They were in a rubbish mood generally," she whispers, and in between her words I can hear her saliva as she moves a piece of bubblegum about with her tongue. First it was complaints about you. She strokes my palm. "You know, not feeling like we're doing everything we can, etc." Gia blows her cheeks out in mock exasperation, and when she releases them I get a gust of synthetic strawberry. "This bald guy in particular," she continues, "he was red in the face with it, used the word exposed." I study Gia's hooded eyes, which have begun to flicker in the way they do when she gets excited. "He said he didn't expect to feel so hot and exposed in a lake of all places," Gia continues, and now her voice is red in the face. "False promises." She takes a few meditative chews of her gum, and his poor wife just standing there. "Exactly," I say, because I am less generous than Gia when it comes to the wives. She only blinks at me knowingly. Anyway, they all left eventually, Gia rounds up, but some of them came back. Their room's too hot, the AC faulty, yada yada, so I had to go and close their windows. Gia falls silent now, so I grab her sad face, and in my best drawl I cry, "My husband," at which Gia wriggles and gives me her full teeth grin, clattering it onto mine as we kiss. In the early days, one of us would start a game of bridal suite like this. announcing ecstatic possession of the other, or throwing a hairbrush backwards like a bouquet, and then we'd fuck like it was the last time we'd ever fuck for fun only. But now we have to be careful. Daily exposure has meant the UVB radiation has rusted my body in the areas I'm unable to shroud. And aside from the sharp, membranous sensation I feel on being touched, I'm starting to resist all the feeling that comes from loving Gia. It's like a hot lava flow.
Next, we'll hear from Sophia Terazawa. Sophia is the author of Winter Phoenix and the forthcoming Anon, along with 2 chapbooks, I Am Not a War and Correspondent Medley. They're also the winner of the 2018 Tomaž Šalamun Prize.
Hi, this is the beginning of a longer piece called Errantries 2. It is about one of my favorite movies, however, written from the persona of someone named Lua, who is the ex-wife of someone named Paul, who looks like Captain America. That's all you have to know for now, and I do apologize for any mispronunciations. I've been practicing, but it's not always there. This is Errantries 2. This is how I reshape that word mist into songmu, la brume, a drop of fog in the 6 illnesses reducing us to tears. You meet me at the cinema in Cholan. The translation smacks us in the face. You lean forward, kissing my cheek. The woman on screen blindfolds herself with the black piece of cloth. She stumbles, backpedaling off the space from a crag as if being pulled up by the strings of a puppeteer. Her hands have also been inexplicably tied behind her back, each event a clean reversal. Her name is Paul, the planet Paul, but I've called you many other things. The second film begins. I'll start, okay? A soft voice announces. From the corner of my eye, I see the shadows of your profile to my right, your silent jaw clenching, then unclenching, a thick-set brow staring up at the movie screen. The speaker is illuminated like a morning Vermeer, bowing her head over a tattered, pocket-sized book. Your hair is orange and white, thrown about in a messy sweep, the streak of blue running through it. The velvet cushioned seats in our cinema hall have begun to creak sporadically. The air smells of musk, tobacco, and tamarind paste. I see the chest under your lapels, the old captain's uniform rising and falling. Your hand, the hand of a pale, oversized planet clutching at one of your knees. You look like Captain America. Moi, who is played by the actress Chantnu Nke, has just asked if she can start okay. Her husband off frame doesn't reply, but Moi recites the translated poem anyway. Quote, "The spring water." Her voice lilting up and down. Glimmers delicately when disturbed. Nguyen enters briefly into focus before cutting away. He has princely eyes and princely shaped ears, a shy but full nose. He adores his wife very much. His mouth tips over. In the kitchen, you tug at my waist. A memory, perhaps encanted by the interlude of marital harmony, I drop my foot to feel the cinema's carpet under my shoe. I count to the number 4 in English, grounding myself. The cinema is half empty. You've disappeared, and it's 1951. Included here is a sketch from our wedding day. You had sent a rather fussy invitation hours before, to your mother and your father, separately, to Tara and Shailis, Earth and Sky. I cried in a dirty bathroom stall at the courthouse in Rome. No one came, naturally. When I looked at the mirror across this stall, ashamed of myself and the situation you put us in, there was a face suspended over mine. She opened a pair of black titanium eyes. I wasn't afraid. The ruby diamond teeth gleamed with caps of silver, something borrowed, as they say. I made a vow to this face, that one day I would kill you, would set about to kill you, the planet Paul. The secret had been kept here ever since L'Odeur de la Papaye Verte. When I return to this film by Cha Nang-hoon, I think about the intention of his final scene, the one about spring water. I think about the language of the second audience in a realm of ancestors and the dead, the unintended critics, a word for mist, occupying our minds at great moments of inconvenience. By the fireplace, in your home, on the planet Paul, at the market down the piazza in 42 BC, before the pickup counter at the butcher's, at a shop of dialectics, an old woman reaching up to pull the toys off her shelf, the costume figurines arranged in a peculiar obtuse triangle. The frames would shake every term of colonial meaning, metaphor, zymology, literature, away from any logical course of production, if any production at all, the mechanics of a westernized plot for the westernized audience. The sensations of history turning to mist, la brume, thongmu. The cinematography which allows for such image-to-image transference, what evokes in that essence of Mui, reciting in her careful Vietnamese, a verse translated, regarding the cold pool and its basic reflections, what ripples but stays its course forever and ever, what eventually becomes a single run-on sentence, and toward this end, gasping. You'll have to read the rest in issue 24 of Sand, which can be found on sandjournal.com.
Thanks so much, Laura and Sophia, for those readings. We're so happy to be here with you tonight, and also to be able to offer this event free of charge and to keep it accessible for everyone. Accessibility is an important value for us at SAND, and especially in times like these, we find it incredibly important to make sure that literature and art of all kinds are available to anyone who wants to have access to them. So if you're enjoying these readings from SAND 24 and want to support us, what we do, and the creators we publish, there are a number of ways to help. Of course, purchases of issues and subscriptions, as well as donations, are vital to the financial longevity of independent literary journals like ours. These ensure that we can pay all of our contributors for their hard work, as well as afford to get our issues into bookstores and into your hands and your mailboxes. SAND is a passion project for our all-volunteer team, and the financial support we get from SAND fans keeps our independent publishing project alive. Every one of our team members volunteer their time for this project, so every penny we earn goes into printing and distributing the journal, as well as paying our contributors. So how can you help? We already mentioned that you can get your copy of SAND 24 for a special discount tonight. You can also support us by following us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or by signing up for our mailing list to receive monthly newsletters with information on writing, art, submission opening dates, event updates, contributor news, and more. You can find all of this on our website at sandjournal.com, and you can join our mailing list at sandjournal.com/newsletter. All of our social media links are in the footer of our webpage. So let's get back to some readings. Up next, we have fiction and poetry from Ambika Thompson and Olya Kotova. And now I'll turn it over to Grace.
Our next reader is Ambika Thompson. Ambika's favorite color is rainbow, and she is a black cat who is a witch. They have been published in several international publications, including Electric Literature, Riddle Fence, Crabfat Magazine, Fanzine, Joyland, and The Fiddlehead. They were also the recipient of a research and creation grant from the Canada Council for the Arts, and they have an MFA in creative writing from Guelph University, where they studied with Dion Brand and Heather O'Neill. Ambika also runs creative writing workshops online and in Berlin, and you can find more of her work at ambikathompson.com. Furthermore, Ambika is the author of the SAND classic, 99 Pink Vaginas, and more recently of Mermaids, which she'll be reading from today. We are also thrilled to announce that Ambika has joined the SAND team as a junior fiction editor.
I'm third-generation waitress, Lisa's mother, Annie, says to Lisa one night at dinner. Lisa isn't fazed. Her mother is employing her to respond in some profound way, but Lisa isn't a waitress, and she doesn't want to be one. There's still hope for her to break the cycle. My grandmother worked 30 years as a waitress in a strip mall, Annie tells her. In a strip mall. My mother worked as a waitress. Well, I can't even say waitress, so maybe it's not true. At McDonald's. And me? Still a waitress. At least you're the manager, Lisa adds. At least I'm the manager. I wanted to be an actor like Daryl Hannah, Annie tells Lisa, as she drinks the last of her wine and folds her hand around the empty glass, as though it's a crystal ball that will tell her the future. I'm old, she adds, and I've never done what I wanted. Lisa tells her that she knows already. Lisa's 17, the edge of 17. Lisa doesn't know what it's like to have half her life behind her, like a fishtail that is too slippery to grasp. The conversation stops there. save by the waiter clearing their dishes. Lisa will have to wait at least another 2 to 3 hours before her mother passes out. After Lisa slips out the door, Cicalia, half octopus, slides across Annie's hotel room and gently wraps her tentacles around Annie. "I didn't think you were coming back," Annie coos, half asleep. Cicalia kisses Annie and puts a couple of tentacles up her nightdress. "Of course I came back." Annie orgasms and the room turns into a fishbowl. The collective invention was painted in 1934 by Magritte, an inverse mermaid. A creature with a half-fish top and a half-female bottom is lying down on the shore of a beach. She probably can't breathe, so she can't get up and walk away. Daryl tells Lisa that that was her cousin. Magritte met her at a beach in Europe, Daryl says, and had sex with her, then chopped up her upper half and fried it in butter and served her at a dinner party. Rumor is that she was the most delicious fish any man had ever set his tongue on. "What did he do with her bottom half?" Lisa asks. Daryl tells her that he kept it around until it rotted. The beach has been full of seaweed since Lisa and her mother have been here, result of climate change. It smells like death, rotting life. Daryl cleans a path for them to lie in the water at the shore where the wet meets the dry, their tail and legs lapped by the water like a dog's tongue, the waves gently rising up over them like a mother putting a blanket over a child. Lisa never sleeps on her belly, it hurts her breasts. "Do you eat sailors?" Lisa asks. The mermaid laughs. She doesn't answer the question. Girls Lisa's age are being brought to the Mexican-US border and forced into sex work. There are neighborhoods in Playa that Lisa is told she shouldn't walk through. Neighborhoods that her and her mother never would walk through. They say it's easier to feel sympathy for a few people, but the more people in peril, the harder it is to care. There's a sea in Europe where thousands of people drowned and are still drowning. There appears to be no mermaids in the Mediterranean, only ghosts who will haunt the collective consciousness for at least a generation to come. Lisa rubs her belly at night when she comes into the room. Her mother is always sleeping heavily, a serene smile on her face. The room smells like seaweed. Lisa thinks that that is what middle age smells like. Lisa pokes her finger in her own stomach, her lower abdomen, and tries to feel for the fetus. She's already found online where she needs to go to resolve the situation if the pill doesn't work. She dreams that she receives the fetus in a to-go white styrofoam container and goes to the beach to eat it with Daryl. "Better with butter," Dream Daryl tells Lisa. There's some babies born with their legs fused together. They call this the mermaid syndrome, or cyanomelia. They say the babies die, but maybe they are just thrown out to sea. "Did you watch me fuck that guy on the beach the night I met you?" Lisa asked Daryl. The mermaid shakes her head, but Lisa doesn't believe her. For some reason, Lisa suspects that mermaids are perverts, that Daryl had been watching her, getting off on it. Lisa knows that she is different than the mermaid. She didn't grow up in the ocean. She knows the difference between right and wrong. She knows the difference between Daryl and herself. The beach is still crowded with people when Lisa goes to look for Daryl. She sees Daryl's fin lingering behind the corner of a wharf. The fin waves at Lisa, or at least she thinks it does. Daryl has made Lisa a bracelet of seashells by the seashore, threaded together with seaweed. "It's the strongest seaweed," she tells Lisa. Lisa's eyes water, but she doesn't let them leak. She wants to strangle the mermaid so that no one else can have her. She wants to watch her face redden, her eyes bulge. "Will you come back?" the mermaid asks. The ocean isn't as dark as it usually is on the horizon. A Cody walks across the beach in front of Lisa. It looks like a stretched out raccoon. It locks eyes with Lisa and hisses. "What is happening?" Lisa asks. "Why is it lit up out there?" "There's a celebration. All the sea creatures are there." Lisa looks at the bracelet. "Can you take me there?" she asks. Daryl tells her that she won't. "They will kill you. They will rip out your beating heart and eat it as it still throbs. We are as bad as they say we are, just as you are as bad as they say you are." "Is life better out there?" Lisa asks. Daryl replies, "Life is never better anywhere where you are treated like a cliche."
Next, we'll hear poetry from Olya Kotova. Olya studied sociology and philosophy in Moscow and in Berlin. She's engaged in post-digital art, political documentary, and is currently creating an interdisciplinary journal with photography, meditations on visual semiotics, quasi-academic essayism, short stories, poetry, and reviews on Berlin's best cheap drinks. Here you'll see her reading her poem, One Letter to Global Warming, in Autumn.
Winter. Mold a snow bomb out of me. I'll nuke the hottest countries, and the effect of this explosion will not even be close to how you astonish me. Winter, winter, winter. And if a snow bomb fell on the heads of people of Congo, they would be less surprised than me when I meet you again. Sure, snow bomb is a curious thing for the people of Congo, but it's just a trifle compared to the way you astonish me. I believe it will end soon, the period that is marked by the law of nature. One day, I'll go out to the street saying goodbye to you. Winter, winter, winter. One letter to global warming in autumn. Dear global warming, hope your week is off to a good start. I kindly ask you if it's possible to never leave our lonely solar system. I'm cold as overcoats in a closet. I'm so cold here, flirting with my gynecologist, flirting about Communist Manifesto, agreeing my left ovary is beautiful. I'm so cold here, I would rather have you right by my side, gliding through the clouds of sulfur oxide and ammonia. I would rather be buried with you, buried in the wild, fantastic silence of the stars, its artificial shadows. Oh, they kidnap my dreams from times I don't remember. Dear global warming, hope your week is off to a good start. And the last one doesn't have a name. Is it me or my hormonal system fusing us into martial arts? Who needed help as a baby? Who needed help to attack? Hands cross the borders of loneliness, use them to squeeze me through it, fingering limits of intimacy, spit the leftovers of me. Ashes get clutched under nails, light up nail polish with black, scratch yourself with my fingers, extract the ugliest plague.
Thank you so much, Ambika and Olya. As Grace mentioned, we're thrilled to have Ambika Thompson joining us as a new fiction editor, along with Janana Vucic, both of whom will be working alongside our current fiction editor, Sienna Powers. And we have two more introductions to make as well. Patrice Leong and Anna-Sophie Balzer are also joining us as new creative nonfiction editors along our longtime editor, Melissa Richer. We couldn't be more excited to see where this new prose team will take Sand in the future. So we just want to say a special welcome to Ambika, Janana, Patrice, and Anna-Sophie. If we were all together physically rather than virtually, now's the time when you'd have a chance to visit the book table and flip through a copy of Sand 24. So since you can't do that, we'd like to give you a little digital preview of the issue, designed by Deborah Louise Seri. Each issue of Sand is individually designed. The fiction, poetry, creative nonfiction, and art inside come from a diverse international range of creatives like the contributors who are reading here tonight. So, without further ado, here's a short preview of Sand 24. We hope you enjoyed that short preview of Sand 24. You can get your copy by heading over to sandjournal.com and purchase an issue or subscription using the discount code VIRTUAL20. That's VIRTUAL20. And now we have our final presentation of the evening, Creative Nonfiction by Kimberly Rooney. Here's Grace with Kimberly's introduction.
Finally, we'll hear from Kimberly Rooney. Kimberly is a Chinese-American adoptee from Jiangsu province. They now live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with their cat Toaster, and their writing has appeared in The Offing, Longleaf Review, Chestnut Review, Waxwing Magazine, and more. They are a 2022 Best of the Net finalist, and when they aren't writing or working, they enjoy calligraphy, singing, and crocheting. You can find them at kimrooneyWrites.com or on Twitter or Instagram as @KimLYPSO.
Hi, this is an excerpt from Letters. Dear Papa, Mama, people call me Kim these days. Do you have another name for me? For my given name, did you choose a virtue or a good wish you hoped I would embody? Did you count the number of strokes in each character to make sure they would be auspicious? I worry often that you never gave me a name. Is it difficult to imagine someone without words to draw a boundary between them and the world? When I think of you, it is as Papa, Mama. Do you prefer Fumu? Do you think of me as Noir? Perhaps we can be proof that names are not necessary for care, that boundaries do not have to be so explicit for understanding to exist. I worry that it then becomes hypocritical to still wish for a name from you. 你的女儿, Kim. Dear Baba, Mama, it didn't occur to me until I was in my 20s that leaving a child might have been something that you'd done. Before then, I coasted in the confidence that you gave me up because you loved me, and recognized that this was the better choice. It was only when I learned the conditions under which you had to make your decision that my faith in such simplicity began to waver. In its absence, I began searching for another explanation that was less painful than the potential truth that you never wanted to give me up. The fear that it was something I'd done, or maybe that it was something intrinsic about me, set in after my first romantic relationship ended. I spent several weeks trying to understand why this had happened to me, and I learned the difficulty of acknowledging one's assault and abuse. Aside from the internalized shame, I did not want to think someone else, especially someone I loved, who I thought might love me, could hurt me in this way. It hurts, deeply, and facing the reality that the onus is on the other person who abused me hurts further because it feels like there was nothing I could have done differently to stop the abuse. At least if it were something I'd done, or even some flaw of mine, I wanted to believe. I could have fixed it. I could have prevented it, if only I'd done something right. From that logic emerged a belief that if I'd done something different, if I hadn't been born with some immediate fault, you would not have left me. I've carried that belief with me ever since, and it has only been in the last few months that I've realized that I do not need to apologize for anything wrong that I did as a baby. If there is anything to apologize for, it is for taking away your agency in this imagined scenario, for believing that you could not have had the faculties to make a difficult decision, that the decision was made for you and had been inevitable all along. I waver on whether to ask for an apology in turn, on what I feel I need an apology for. In this moment, I will not ask for apologies, but I will ask for an explanation. I think I'm ready to hear one now.
I want to give a big thank you to Kimberly for that presentation, and just another big thank you to all of our other readers and presenters tonight: Alison Fishburne, Shilpa Kamath, Laura Lines, Sophia Terazawa, Ambika Thompson, Olya Katova, and Kimberly Rooney. We'd also like to give an equally big thanks to all of the writers and artists whose work appears in SAN 24. We're grateful to all of you who are joining us here live tonight and those who are watching this video after the fact. If you enjoyed the work you saw tonight or the work that you see over at SAN Online, be sure to pick up your copy of SAN 24, follow us on social media, and sign up for our newsletter, all of which can be done at sandjournal.com. Before we go, I'd also like to thank all of the SAN team members who made SAN 24 possible. This is an incredible volunteer team with a wonderful collaborative spirit that's just full of support, and I'm very, very grateful to all of these people. Ruby Mason, Sarah Anwar, Melissa Richer, Krista Siglin, Emma Lawson, Sienna Powers, Deborah Louis-Suri, Natalia Dumont, Will Stokes, Grace Hennis, Anna Nanadovich, and Christina Wagner. And I'd like to give an especial thanks to Ruby and Grace for their work with me on this launch tonight. Thanks again for joining us, and on behalf of the entire SAN team, I'd like to wish you a wonderful evening.